This episode is sponsored by Living Realms. Ports basically so many awesome games. They're also the shop that is going to be doing the calling in Birmingham. How cool is that? So these guys are going to be running the calling over in Birmingham in the NEC. Worth checking out. Go get yourself registered. They also do Outsiders as well, which is coming out very soon, and they've got literally 4% off if you buy two. If you're a Push the Point patron, that's an additional 5% off as well. So it's well worth going through their site if you are a patron and checking it out. So we've got callings, they've got loads of products. What's the problem? Go check them out. Hey guys, welcome back to another awesome episode where I have brought with me the meme lord, the man who knows how to move eyebrows impeccably well, the man who misses tunics, the man who memes himself into godhood. We've got Pheano. Dude, how are you?
Everyone? Thanks for having me on again.
Thank you so much for jumping back on. So, as part of the journey into the pits with Daniel, Pheano, and Yorgos, Pheano's kindly been mucking about with a Uzuri deck tech, and he's going to sit down and just sort of go through his findings on how this sort of deck works. Now, we're recording this after the Chicago Brawl, so you've seen how Zuri has been doing quite well. Got into a top 8 by Sam. I'm going to pronounce
Dando?
Yeah.
It's actually Drip Dando.
Drip
Dando. Put some
Dango.
respect on his name.
Oh, sorry.
Put some respect on his name.
So Drip Dango. Is it Drip Dango?
Dando.
Dando, right.
Or Supreme Dando.
Supreme Dando. Yeah. He obviously rocked out a jury, so seeing how that worked, it was a really good highlight of what sort of pressure Uzuri can do. But Pheano's got his version. But before we get into that, dude, thank you so much. What's new with you?
I have been busy past month and a half doing Battle Spirit stuff, so I did not put as much time into this as I would have liked. This is draft 2 of the deck. I had a rough draft that I was working on before, and I put a couple days into this right before I left for Battle Spirits. So this is a lot of my first theories with the deck and core concepts of how do we try to fix the problems that I had outlined with the deck, and how do we lean into our strengths of the deck and try to solve certain matchups that could be troublesome for us. This needs refining still. So I am by no means saying this is the perfect list or anything. I do think that it is interesting that I took a very different approach with the deck than Dando did. I took a quick look at his list because it just happened a few days ago. And it looks like he's way heavier on the red line version, where as I was playing the deck, I constantly felt like I wanted more and more blues in the deck. So it's interesting how we went with a different approach with the deck. And I don't think there's a correct answer necessarily yet. And it could be a metagame specific thing of which side you want to lean heavier into.
No, that's awesome. That's really cool. Now, if you haven't checked it out, go check out Pheano's YouTube channel where he does a bit of a breakdown on what he thinks about Uzuri on his very first take. Again, you can also check out our video as well where we had all of us, and we really didn't test out really much at all, and it was just looking at the card going,
you can watch me go on a full ass adventure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then Pheano basically it appears in 3 different places. One of them could be Mars, right? So let's move on to the deck. But in short, what she does is you put a card down face down, and then that gives them the option to basically choose whether they want to throw in defense reactions before she reveals what she's actually putting into the play. So you have the opportunity to go, I will put a defense reaction on because I have a very funny feeling you're going to do a command and conquer, but you don't know, right? That you don't really know. And I think that's the actual true power of her hero ability, is the fact that
You've activated
really
my stealth card.
Yeah. What is it? And then I don't think that's actually a thing that you're really gonna do. But you could super bait, right? You could just super bait and go, defense reaction. You go, it was a pummel. Or what it is.
The big juice is activate it, banish a card. You just want to get that card out of your hand, pass.
Yeah, that's it. No. I've got loads of stealth cards and no, nah, it's nothing. It's all good. GG. And then, in fact, it's just being able to like throw. You could throw blue, right? You can go. Here's a red infect. Bot 3. Okay, it's Zuri. Okay, defense react. It's a blue. Oh, you bought
You can
2 cards for 1.
also banish a card and then just not put it onto the combat chain. You can just leave it face down and just not put it in.
Can you do that?
Like maybe you just want to get that out of your hand.
Oh, right.
Like maybe it's like early game and you're going first or something, and you're just trying to do that as a mulligan.
Right. Yeah, but you have to if it is an attack action card, right? Yeah, it says if you turn the banished card this way face up, if it's an attack action card with cost 2 or less,
So like I could like banish like a come to fight or something face down and not put that in. Like that doesn't come up very often.
No.
But let's say you want to just get a card out, like you just open up and your hand is just cursed, and you're just like, I just need to mulligan 2 cards. I'm just gonna attack and activate her ability. I don't care. I'm just doing the thing.
Yeah, that's it. I think that's yeah. And you never know. They could be like
very often.
Yeah. I think it's cool though. So let's go through the equipment. We've got Arcane Lantern, Null Rune Boots, and Null Rune Gloves. A little bit different this time because Daniel and Yorgos actually had a bit of a sideboard and they knew which equipment they wanted to go where. But this one is just going to be a bit more of here's a complete deck package and no real sideboard options yet. But then, I think it's pretty obvious that Arcane Lantern, Null Rune Boots, and Null Rune Gloves are something you would slot into your sideboard. Is the opponent a wizard? Then you can throw this much in. So it's quite interesting really that you went for 3. Do you feel like at the minute from your thinking in theory and having a couple of games that you'd actually want to run all 3? Because sometimes, you see some heroes go, actually, you know what? I need to make sure that my hands and my feet are actually that they're like, if that makes sense, they're very valuable pieces of equipment.
The null rune effects, I like having the AB3 versus Icelander. I have a very heavy blue count. I want to leverage that in that matchup. I'm very willing to trade cards with them, so I like the ability to do that. There's a world where we greed and go down on AB, but I think I like playing for the long game against them, but that can change if the game plan of the deck changes over time and everything.
Oh, no, I agree. But you got your 3 null runes there. Now let's go through. Let's just say your equipment. If it's not null rune, it's legendary, right? And I come to that conclusion as well when I was playing around with Uzuri, that actually all of her really good equipments are you end up leaning on the L's more than just some like a majestic option. But to be fair, Assassin don't really have majestic option, do they? It's kind of legendary or just a one-off use common. So the Black Tech Whisperers, that's I find that it's a pretty good obvious staple card of why you want to include that into any real Assassin deck really. It's now I will say that, do you have enough contract cards to have leverage that ability to? No. Okay. He's been with me long enough to know, because I'm just going to cut to the chase. No. So is that a problem?
Is cut to the chase in the deck? I don't think cut to the chase is in the deck.
Okay. So why Black Tech?
It's Snapdragons that defends for 1. I think I've actually been debating on playing Snapdragons instead, because sometimes you can like come in with a stealth card and your opponent just blocks with 2 cards. Like, haha, now you can't get me, and you're just like, I'm just gonna Snapdragon it and then play the thing I was gonna cheat into play with my hero ability instead. I'm just gonna cast it normally, and they're like, oh no, I already blocked with 2, and you juice them out of extra value. It's good for when you have the big hands to be able to like play a stealth card, cheat in a bigger card like Shakedown, and then you snap it, and then you can like play a Death Touch from Arsenal or something like that. It lets you play a bigger hand sometimes, but I think the difference between that and Snapdragons isn't that massive, and sometimes isn't even better. So I don't think it's necessary to get that if you like. I think kind of jumping ahead on your point, I don't think most of the legendaries are even that massively necessary for the deck. Like if you're a budget player, I don't think it's necessary. Like Crown is just marginally better than Skull Cap. Flick Knives is nice to have in the deck. Like it comes up that you can just like get 2 free damage on your opponent sometimes, and maybe you juice them on the ability to block with a D-React, but that doesn't come up very often. Like between that and Goliath Gauntlet, marginally different probably. Tunic, I mean, you just have the problem that there's no other good chest piece in the games. Like that's you could just play the other chest piece, and it's like it is worse, but you just don't have options. And honestly, the Tunic resource isn't that easy to use in the deck. A lot of your rounds are kind of awkward to fit a Tunic resource in. It'll just be like, maybe I want a dagger twice or something like that. Or maybe I go dagger, Tunic resource, throw a Command and Conquer at you. A card that I just took out of the deck but might come back in. It does allow you to do like Pummel CC kind of plays. Pummel is a deck that is a card that's very good in the deck. I'm debating if I like it or not.
Yeah, no, I hear you. But I like that you thought that Black Tech Whisperers and Snapdragons is, it's kind of literally on par. So if you don't have Black Tech Whisperers, an alternative option would be to get Snapdragons. Crown of Providence, again, like you said, the alternative option could be a Skull Cap, which is a much more cheaper, affordable option. If not, there are, again, most of the time you are looking just for a good, quick, easy defend. So again, there's lots of other normal, headpiece. There's an iron rot helmet, maybe, or just the iron hide helmet, if need be, right?
Yeah, if like you only have a couple $100 to spend, I'd rather just spend it on the Command and Conquers. Honestly, I think that has a higher impact to your win percentage than the equipment does.
Yeah. Okay. And then Flip Knight, and like you said, Flip Knight's Goliath.
It's good.
Yeah, no, Flip Knight. It's also, I actually will say that Flip Knight in terms of the legendary for a Rainbow Foil is actually not it's not really a highly unreasonable card to pick up. So not that one, if you're probably going to go out of your way to get something, I would say run out. Or would you say run out and grab like Flip Knights as a good start in legendary?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think the Command and Conquers are more important, but yeah.
Okay.
I think that it's always a weird thing on what I recommend for that type of stuff. I help out new players a lot locally of trying to help them figure out where to navigate selection. And it's always would you rather go for the thing for your deck, or would you rather go for the thing that's going to go in any deck? I always recommend, if you're not sure you're in love with the deck that we're talking about, and you're going to play that forever, I'd always just say go for the generics instead. Go for your Command and Conquers, your Crown, your Tunic, because no matter what, you're going to need these. You'll always need these. But if you're like, nope, I'm sold, this is the deck, I'm just going to play this forever, then yeah, get your legendaries.
Sure. What would you say that, and you've also got Vambrace, and I imagine the Vambrace is just Crown of Seed tech, right?
Yeah, I think that's probably more necessary than the rest of the equipment, because it's very helpful against Oldhim.
Yeah.
Being able to throw your turns a lot of the time against them are going to be like pitch a blue, dagger them, and then throw a thing that matters at them. So if they're just always able to crown that, you're just trading cards with them and letting them float to resources. And then you end up not using the other resource from your blue for anything a lot of the time. So it's like, what was the point? And then they just use the 2 resources on like a staunch or something, and you're just like behind a card on them, and it just feels bad.
I love the Scale Peeler against Oldhim. Scale Peeler, Vambrace of Determination it's got to be Oldhim with Ramparts. Just literal nightmare of right. Here comes Scale Peeler.
Yeah.
I can't use the Crown to stop it. I can't use the shield to stop it. Give me a card.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Just
or more importantly, they can't shield the next thing that you play, because they're not going to shield your weapon.
No.
So like it's just the next thing, and then like if they're doing that, then maybe it's still awkward for them anyways, because if they're going to shield and they're trying to stop you from hitting, they're probably having to throw multiple cards on that anyways. So they're giving you a full card on the shield, and then they still have to give you probably 2 cards on the block. So it's like, because in that matchup, I actually really like the Spider's Bite a bit because the cards they're blocking with, I give a shit about far more. I know most of them are attack actions, and then I'm not sure yet on my game plan specifically there of if I would rather Peeler for the armor or Nerve Scalpel, but I do like the threat of activation on Nerve Scalpel. That just, if you're gonna de-react this and for exact math, I'm gonna stop you from doing that and get another full card out of you. The threat of activation is a really big thing that it is a strength that Uzuri has, and leveraging that in every matchup is important, I think.
Awesome.
I'm just not 100% that matters in that matchup yet.
Got ya. So if you were to say that if there is a legendary from this that you would want to pick up first, so I know you're going to go pick up Command and Conquers first. I actually would hard agree. Go grab your Command and Conquers first in general. But if you had to pick a legendary equipment that you would say this is a good priority pick first, which one would that be?
Tunic, as there's no replacement for it.
Yeah.
Again, it's would you rather something for this hero or would you rather something for collection? I think Tunic checks both boxes, but if you wanted something that's much cheaper, any of them is reasonable. Honestly, I guess Flick Knives as it's the cheaper alternative out of them, and I would say Snapdragons and Black Tech are pretty close. So
yeah, all right, no, cool, thank you. Let's go through. So we talked a little bit through the weapons in general, right? So you got the 1 Nerve Scalpel, 1 Orbiter Class, 1 Scale Peeler, and 2 Spider Bites. So what's your... I love it that you got all the assassin equipment. That's really cool. What is your findings on like how you've worked out that composition of different sort of weapons? I've seen people say they want to have 3 of Nerve Scale. You know what I mean? What brought you to 1 and 2 Spider's Bites?
Well, double Spider's Bite is good in like the majority of matchups, and then the rest are just like tech cards for specific things. I'm gonna butcher the name of this, but Orbitoclast,
yeah,
really good versus Dromine Icelander, so I like having that against them. And then Scalpel again, I really like that for the threat of activation. Scale Peeler is the one that I need to play more games with to see if I actually like that card. I'm not sure where I want that yet. It's kind of just in there for like force myself to play with it to test, but it might be one of the ones that ends up getting cut. It could be very good, and I'm just not sure on that one yet. Like we kind of already talked about that against Oldhim. I'm not sure if I actually like that there. I think one of the strengths of it is against a hero that has a fridge of armor, going a Scale Peeler plus a Spider's Bite, and then using the Scale Peeler earlier on in the game to make it so they can't just fridge armor on your stuff. So that way they have to give you cards. Because you don't care about their cards blocking more inefficiently in the matchup. It's already inefficient for them to block with cards. They're a multiplicative scaling damage deck. They don't want to give you cards. That's what the armor is for. And then once you've gotten through the armor, then not caring about that anymore.
Yeah, having that to sort of go, you know what? I can Flick Knives this, whatever. For 1 damage, this weapon has had its day, and let's just move on. You know what I mean? Like I love it. It feels really thematic. Like
I really like the ability in a lot of matchups to like go to different ones and like using them for different stages of the game.
I love that.
Because a lot of the time you don't need to swing 2 weapons anyways in matchups. It's just like when you have those like really heavy blue hands, but you are looking to block and play small hands, so it's not really that necessary.
Yeah, that's it. I think I feel like it's a little bit different, but because I've been playing a lot of Arachne, I've been getting that same sort of feeling and vibes as well. It's like you're just selecting the weapons like based on who you're up against and stuff. That's got to be the coolest bit. And then you play and go, oh my god, because yeah. Anyway, let's go through to the deck. So again, no sideboards, just a full big block of cards, and we're just going to go through them all. Like step by step and working out what the game plan and the theory of it is. So I'm going to work through with, I think the best option is to go through the stealth cards first, right? And then I feel like everything else potentially stacks up on top of that, unless I'm wrong.
I just don't think the stealth cards are that interesting to talk about. They're stealth cards, you have to play them.
Yeah.
Um, I want a certain density of stealth cards. I'm not sure the exact number yet, but it's probably somewhere where we're at, where we're drawing like 1 to 2 every hand.
Yeah.
And I think the most interesting deck building choice of them is how many blues and reds that you play of them, because the reds will function as a blue most of the time because you're going to play it and then bottom it. So it doesn't matter which color it is that you're playing. The blues are nice in the modal aspect of them, where you can play it, bottom it, or you can pitch it to do something else. I think something to think about with that, though, is threat density later on in the game. One thing that I really like with the stealth cards is trying to play ones that my opponent actually wants to block because they have an on hit that they might care about,
Yeah,
and
like
then
infect
using
or
a hero
something.
ability.
Yeah.
Because what I don't want is to play a stealth card and my opponent's just like, I don't care if that hits. I don't care if you want to stealth activate your hero ability, put something in, whatever. I'm not going to block this thing. You can get me for a card. I'm just going to keep everything and hope my 4-card hand after your hit effect, assuming the hit effect is worth a full card. I'm just going to hope the 4-card hand afterwards is good enough. And then
Okay.
I'll just try to run you over. A lot of people really like Isolate. That's a card that I'm kind of on and off of, because like I said, it doesn't actually make them block at all. It just says dominate. They don't have to block that. They can just say, I accept. You can activate your hero ability. I hope it was good.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I have seen 1 or 2 games, and I noticed that you've put this into your deck as well, which I'll move along to. It's Spike with Inertia. Mostly I've seen Spike with Blood Rot, but you went and put in Spike with Inertia. That's obviously a card that could be really, rock and roll with Isolate or Backstab or anything like that. So, but why did you pick Spike of Inertia?
That is it could be for more than this, but that is initially a tech card for Icelander. I found the game was very easy after getting them off of their arsenal. So I'm looking to kind of trade cards with them for a little bit until they let me keep a 3-card hand. And then go like weapon swing, float a resource, so now they're not really incentivized to give me a frostbite because I'm just going to pay for it anyways. Specifically hitting them with a bit of class, so that way their blocks are inefficient. Then come in with something, and then they block or don't, whatever, and then I Spike with Inertia, get them off their arsenal. It's very awkward for them once that happens, because then I can generally keep a full grip on the next round, and then hold tempo from there and just kind of chain hands into them that kind of disrupt them. Icelander is a deck that wants to disrupt other decks and does not appreciate being disrupted itself.
Yeah, it's a one-way street. Yeah,
Very similar to Ranger as well. Like, they also don't like it when you disrupt what they're doing. They're like, oh no, that was my job.
Hey, don't do that. So yeah, no, I like that. I like that a lot.
And that's kind of interchangeable with the Spreading Plague as well. Kind of another reaction that we bring in certain matchups where our opponent's trying to aggressively block and we punish them for that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I hear you. Plus, as well, good solid yellow free block
Yellows
as well.
are very good in this hero as well.
Yeah, I know.
All of your 2 costs, hey, that's crazy. A yellow pays for that. Your weapon, hey, that's crazy. A yellow pays for that. And then it puts these cards in your second cycle that aren't embarrassing to cast later.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's kind of it's really cool actually, considering we just went through a world of. I remember there was like a world where we were talking about what's the point of a yellow? What is the point? Yellows are dead and rubbish half the time, and then
your auras go again.
Yeah, and yeah, well, if you prism, yellows are really important. But everyone else is like, what's the point? And now actually, it's really cool to see. Like with Ranger and with Assassins, where they're actually going, you know what, yellows are really well, they're actually really well designed. They fit in quite perfectly. It's not just this red blue deck anymore.
I think the biggest point of them is end game cards that you're looking for, like design wise, where it's like, I can fit this into my cost curve early game by pitching it to cover my round, even slightly less efficient. Maybe I'm down a point of value in my round. But then later on in the game, this is something that I can cast and use as a setup card or a win condition card. like Codex of Frailty and Spreading Plague, both cards that are great in endgame scenarios.
Yeah. Now you mention Codex of Frailty. Everyone's just going to go like batshit crazy. No surprise, everyone.
That was so funny. I was, at the Battle Spirits thing this past weekend, and every now and then I'm checking it on my Twitter, and then suddenly and the whole time I'm just like, did people not have eyes?
Yeah.
Did they not see this card was good? This card's. Am I the dumb that thought this was good to begin with? I was very confused. I thought it was one of the best cards in the set.
Well, yeah, it was obviously, and that was one of the very first cards. It was pretty much one of the very first cards we saw, right? When we went, they went, here is Outsiders. Here's a card for Outsiders. And here's what the Marvels will look like. And everyone's like, whoa, Codex of Frailty. Yeah, cool, man. Yeah, I mean, you read it, you're like, bro, it's broke. It's crazy good. It's really good. Yeah, it looks all right, doesn't it? Don't know why everyone sounds like that, but it's and then
it was very good. And then we got Death Touch, and I was like,
just have them in, right? Get decks already way better. Just put them in.
People should be playing even more Death Touch. I think that card's potentially a play all 9.
Oh, really?
Card's nuts.
Yeah.
One of the best cards in Prism was War-Tune Herald. It's better War-Tune Herald.
Yeah. Well, that is true, but then the stipulation of you can't play it from hand, it really doesn't matter, right? It's like
War-Tune had the stipulation of your turn might end if they block it.
Yeah.
It was still the best card of the deck, pretty much.
Wow. Okay, so that's why you went for the reds and the yellows. I used
to have the blue, but I cut it because I had a few too many 2-blocks in the deck, and that was coming up.
Right. Sure. So having the reds and the yellows just to have that, just picking which one of the diseases you can get. Man, my God, this card is awesome. Now we're moving on quite nicely, actually, over to the what I would say is the switcheroos. Really, the cards. The real reason why Uzuri is in a really, really cool spot is because you've got the switcheroo cards. Death Touch, Command and Conquer, Leave No Witnesses, Shakedown, and Surgical Extraction are your switcheroo cards. I don't know. I see E-Strike, right? I see E-Strike. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't think you do a switcheroo with an E-Strike. It doesn't feel...
we can talk about that in a minute.
All right.
I want to talk about E-Strike and Come to Fight after this, just together.
Okay, sure. Sure thing. So let's...
I also used to have, I think it's called Promise of Plenty. I'm spacing the intellect one.
Is it the Promise of Plenty? If you play it from Arsenal, has go again.
No. The blue cost 2 that one hit gives you an intellect.
That's the I forgot what that one's called. Leave it in the comments, everyone. But we all know what it is.
I'm bad with names.
Yeah.
I used to have that in. Same idea with the Death Touch. I had a few too many 2-blocks in the deck, and it felt awkward, so I shaved that. But it might come back in. I'm going to circle back to this in a minute, but it was also the same reason why E-Strike and Come to Fight are in there. Of that card really highlights an issue that the deck had of utilizing big hands. So going into the next round with an even bigger hand might mean that I can't even play all these cards anyways. So that was another reason why I cut it from the deck. I'm like, it doesn't matter if I have 6 cards. I can only play 3.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
at best it was I could block with another card, but that didn't always matter.
Okay. But let's...
and the rest are ones that just guarantee to get value no matter what. Shakedown gives me a card. Surgical gives me a card. Leave No Witness, Command and Conquer, obviously, if they have an arsenal. Leave No Witness is really juiced, though, with the Frailty, because if they didn't have an arsenal, you force them to have an arsenal and then take it from them.
I know. That was what, as a player that played a hell of a lot of Arachne, that was one of my favorite things going, all right, cool, give me the arsenal. Yeah, okay, all right. No, give me that. No, get it out of there. You're like, well, Jesus Christ, make up your mind. Do you want me to have it?
So
I
just have all the guaranteed value ones in here.
Yeah.
I would really like. I have considered also playing the one that on hit makes them discard a card if they have 4 or more in hand.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
All the new ones that have an on hit that stops them from playing the game if they're on a specific deck, like Humble and the Amnesia and all the other ones like that. The Ponder token one. These are all cards that are in my head of potential cards to put in the deck. it's really going to be like a metagame specific thing of like, what do I need for a specific tournament? What am I targeting with the deck? I'm not going to put cute shit in the deck in an initial test run of the deck.
No, I hear you. So I think I said this to Yorgos as well when we were talking about traps, right? And I feel like that's a sort of a good sort of way to, I feel, looking at Uzuri, just hearing that, is that if you're going to pick up and play this on a Talishar, right? A general open field, you don't even know what you're going to see. We're just going to go into whatever. Having the Command and Conquer, Death Touch, Leave No Witness, Shakedown, and Surgical Extraction, they're your pretty safe bet, good cards, right? They're
always good.
They're always good. But if you're going to go to an armory and you're noticing that as actually, who's these really good players, they're showing up with, I don't know why I'm picking Dory players. I always sit there and go, there's this dude that plays Dory and he's just crushing everyone. Oh, you never know. There could be some dude that's playing a load of
You see a lot of Katsu.
Yeah,
you see a lot of Katsu. You go, okay, no names.
Yeah, exactly. Just being able to
there's
swap
a lot of like pieces that can move around in the deck for teching for different things. But then that kind of goes back to there's a lot of equipment. It's hard fitting tech cards into the deck for sideboarding. But I think this is a hero that if you're able to shave down equipment and add more things to the side, you're able to add a lot of silver bullets to this deck.
Yeah, and I think that's what really that's kind of actually the real flavor and the juice of what this hero can really bring, is that she can she's got she can do the gotcha move, put the correct gotcha cards in based on what the meta is doing. But I think overall this is a very, like, seeing Command and Conquer, Leave Witness, and blah blah blah, that is a pretty good staple. Let's go for it.
You always get value.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that moves us quite nicely on to the Come to Fight E-Strike interaction.
So those were two cards I added to the deck pretty late because I forget if I mentioned this in our last thing, but I mentioned it here. She has a hard time using 5-card hands. She has a hard time with a grip. A common play pattern you'll have is you'll be trading cards most of the game, and then you'll have a moment where you have the gotcha against your opponent, and they lose tempo. They don't really come at you with much. They're like, oh crap, that was good. I guess I'll Arsenal pass, or I'll throw my weapon at you for 3, Arsenal pass. Like, they don't really do anything on their own.
Yeah.
You can block with maybe 1 card at most. And then you're like, well, now I have all these cards. What do I do with them? Like, none of your stuff has go again. So when you're stuck with 4 to 5 cards, it's very awkward. Inherently, the only thing you can really do is throw your weapons at them if you have a multi-blue hand. And then that might not even be ideal, because if you have double Spider's Bite, that might not be good, because then you just block the second Spider's Bite and the effect will fall off. So I wanted some more cards in the deck that when I have the grip, I can deploy my whole hand, and Come to Fight, Strike really help with that. The Come to Fight lets me have a cost curve where I can go like pitch a blue, swing my weapon, play the Come to Fight, play the card that I want to buff, either a stealth card with an on hit, or maybe I don't throw the Spider's Bite and I just throw a big attack at the end. I just throw Command and Conquer for 9. Now you're in this. Now I get to chain rounds into them where I'm very disruptive and I can use everything. So I'm able to use the tempo they just gave me and potentially hold it.
Yeah, no, I like that, because there's nothing more worse than it feels like you said, just I've got my 4 or 5 card hand and I'm playing it exactly if I had 3. Great, and being
Pummel also does a similar thing of letting you use every card in your hand.
Yes.
A card that I would like to put back in the deck, but it became harder to cast it as I had moved up on the Death Touch count. We actually only have a few cards in the list that see Pummel right now. It's the Command and Conquer, the Shakedown, and the Surgical, I think. I don't think there's anything else.
Yeah. No, I think that's it. I think I remember when Dando, right? I'm gonna get it right. Dando? Drip Dando. That's it. We're getting there, everyone. So Drip, when he was approached to talk about a bit about his deck, and he got asked, hey, you know what? How many pummels do you have? And he's like, none. It's like, why? I said, if I put 9 pummels in, I have more pummels than targets. It's ridiculous. Like, it's why it doesn't really make too much sense to have it. And then when you start reducing it down a bit, then you got to go. I've got what 3, 6, 9 cards for 3 cards for it to talk to, and it does nothing. It does nothing otherwise, and it blocks for 2. You got to line it up pretty well. Whereas I like the fact that when you have got come to fight, that just goes, yeah, next attack has +3, right? Which is it's effectively just doing a much better job of just, you got on hits for days. That's the whole point.
I do really like Pummel in the deck, though. It does.
Yes.
It can win games. Like, you attack, they block with 1, you cheat in the thing, then you pummel over, you discard 2 cards from them, they don't really get around anymore. You got in a ton of damage over the top of everything. The tempo swing of it is massive, especially if you're able to do that off of a Tunic counter or something. It's almost like Pummel CC is good. Who knew?
Oh.
It's crazy.
It's crazy, man. And then you've got the 3 Fate for Scenes and 3 Sink Belows. Just good, solid.
I'm trying to block. We're trying to trade cards.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is we've went through all the cards in the deck now. I think it's a really good core consistent way of being able to play as Zuri.
I think this is a good starting point for a lot of lists, and then like branching out from there with either teching for your specific metagame or adjusting just how you want to play the deck, because I think there is a lot of ways.
Yeah, definitely. Is there anything sort of you'd like to end on this point, just before we kind of wrap it up, or is there anything you want to add and end on, really?
Not particularly. I'll probably end up having some updated stuff for her on my channel as I explore her some more over the next. I think she's a very interesting hero, and I think she's very good, and I think she's something that the game's needed for a while. She's a mid-range disruptive deck. She kind of does what I always wanted Rhinar to do.
Yeah, you read my mind. I was literally going, this is what I want Rhinar to do.
Yeah, you're this deck with a bunch of evasion, and you're throwing big attacks at your opponent, but then you're actually disrupting your opponent, not just throwing vanilla damage at them. And I think that's very powerful. Disruption's very good. Blocking is very good. I think that she's a rewarding deck too, the better you get at the game in general. I think there's a lot of decision making that goes on with her, so I don't think she's that simple of a deck, which I like. I've been looking for something to really sink my teeth into, not just unga bunga, play my whole hand every round.
I know what you mean. I mean, it's kind of fascinating, really, because from when we started to do this journey into the pit, so where we all met up, we all looked at Uzuri and went, okay, it's okay. And as time's gone on, it's been like, the LSS must be like, trust us. It doesn't seem much.
I didn't think she was like mid. I trust their ability to design heroes and cards that are going to feel good to play. Whether or not they're competitively viable is always another question, but they don't just make bad cards in this game. And that's like a big difference between other card games like Magic, for instance. They put cards in packs that are bad for the purpose of being bad, so you know what a good card looks like. We are still discovering cards in old sets that are good. They don't just make bad cards. They're not going to give us bad heroes. There is a puzzle to solve with all of them. And I think that we're still discovering the puzzle with a lot of them, like Dromai, with the new heroes. I think there's a lot to really sink your teeth into with a lot of these heroes. I think people barely scratch the surface with Riptide. I think there's a lot of interesting things that can be done with him as a value engine deck. Death Dealer is a broken card.
I agree.
The more you can abuse that, the better. So in general, when we get new stuff, I think that's a take of what I like to do with all these things is look at it and go, what was the design intent behind these things? Because they're not just going to print something that's shitty. if I was on the developer side, how would I be looking at this
Mm.
and break it down from there. They're not just going to give us shitty cards.
No, that's awesome. I mean, that's what a fantastic way to sort of end this really cool series on. And yeah, go check it out. Go pick up Uzuri if you've liked what you've seen, and take this to your armories, and most importantly, have fun. I think Uzuri is one of those heroes that's just gonna give your opponent.
She's very fun.
Yeah, she's super fun to play. Like really, really fun.
You deal infinite psychic damage to your opponent when they forget that flick knives exist, and you kill them with it.
Exactly, dude. Pheano, thank you so much for coming on. Everyone, check out the link below to go to Pheano's channel. Go subscribe to his channel as well, and get further updates of what his thoughts and feelings are in general with Flesh and Blood, and for Uzuri, if you're going to be doing any more.
I'll probably have some more Zuri content up. I do some Dromai stuff. I try to just do kind of general stuff. But yeah, follow me. It's just Pheano on YouTube, Pheano Black on Twitter. Follow me for the funnies and for the high level content stuff. Thank you so much for watching.
Yeah, no, dude, thank you so much. Cheers, everyone.